Move on to new business. Item number 1 is approval of ordinance 2019-29, authorizing execution of a 1-year contract extension with MC Squared Energy Services for the provision of 100% renewable electricity for the Village of Gurnee's electrical aggregation program under a ComEd price match program. This needs some explanation.
Sure. So Jack is in charge of our municipal electrical aggregation program. He put together a quick PowerPoint presentation here because there's a little twist on the program this year, so he's going to walk us through that.
All right, thank you, Pat. Thank you, Mayor. So I'm also joined here by Sharon Derling from NIMEC if there's some questions that I can't answer. Essentially, we've had our municipal electric aggregation program since 2012. I mentioned at the last meeting, so I won't go through the whole process, but usually what we do at this point is we do a bid. When at noon today were the bid results, and by tomorrow we have to sign a contract because electricity is a commodity and it's constantly changing in price. Like any other commodity, it's a daily trade. So when we look at the different options, we were a little bit worried about the program this year just because ComEd's rates have gotten very competitive. They're at a point that currently, ComEd's rate is slightly lower than the village's rate for the first time in the history of the program. So we were very afraid that what would happen is ComEd would get lower than us continually, and this no longer is a price savings program. It could be a costly program, and that's not something that we want to do. It still saves residents money up until recently, so we're looking at other options. So we received the bids today. Across the board, ComEd's rate for the next cycle is 7.06 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's so I guess I'll get into the details. So the difference between 7.06 and let's say 7.049 is a fraction of a cent. So you're talking negligible amount in your bill. So when we look at all these, the lowest bidder was Allego Energy at 6.99. So they broke for a 1-year contract. They broke the $7 mark. Now the risk is ComEd's rate is a variable rate. It goes up and down throughout the seasons. It could go significantly lower. It could go higher. So you're always kind of doing a little bit of a gamble. Again, it's paid off up until recently. So we were considering our options of just going to ComEd was probably what I was going to recommend tonight originally, to just go to ComEd's program. Now our current vendor, MC Squared, has rolled out a new product called EcoGreen. And I'll explain a little bit about this, and it's highlighted here at the bottom. So unlike these other offerings in our current program, which are not renewable energy based, our current program is a mix of coal, nuclear power, and other sources, whereas renewable usually is a much higher price. So in the past, we haven't considered renewable because it wasn't cost effective. We allowed residents to personally opt in, but not as a village. So this new product is called EcoGreen. So essentially what they do is they offer 100% renewable energy. It comes from Midwest wind farms, some of it from Illinois, not all of it, but throughout the Midwest. And so it's a guaranteed price match to ComEd's rate, including their PEA, which is a fluctuating rate. So they will constantly be matching whatever a resident would pay for ComEd, they'll pay the exact same for this rate. And in return, getting 100% renewable, and there's no rate risk. So the nuance essentially of how it works. So how could they afford to do something of this cost? It's kind of what's the hidden catch, I guess. So essentially, if this bar graph represents 10 Gurnee households and their different usages. So the usages here, these are your people who use off-peak hours. These are the users that the energy companies love. They only turn their air conditioning on when it hits 90 degrees. They're the super users for conserving electric. Now, these users up here are the ones who run their AC. They're switching between AC and heat right now. They're using a lot of energy. They might work from home. They have a lot higher bills. They're not good customers for them. But an electric aggregation program, this green line would represent, they have to take everybody. It's essentially, they take all accounts for good or bad. With this program, what they do is MC Squared goes through, they have the account data already, that's part of this program, and they identify these customers. And so these are the ones that they want. So what they do is they take the green customers onto MC Squared. The red customers get reverted to ComEd. So according to the resident, it's no different, and I'll show a second what their bills would look like of the two. But in return for this, all of these red customers are still through 100% renewable certificates. So I'll explain kind of how the certificates and the credits work. There's a lot of nuance here, and I'm trying to be time efficient. So what it would look like. So here's two different bills essentially put together. It's the same person using the same watts. One, they both get a bill from ComEd under their supplier. So there wouldn't even be this MC squared logo. We just have it for clarification. It would list out the pricing. It's slightly different named, but essentially it would be identical price. So two different residents would have slightly different bill, whether they're on ComEd or MC squared. Most won't know, and it makes no difference in their electric. They're both getting green electric. It's just that MC squared is actually selling the electric into the system, so they're profiting off of the residents that are buying their electric, and then they're taking their profits and buying certificates for other residents. So, to explain how it works, again, a little bit nuanced in the science. So, what this means is Gurnee, if we accept this program, will be 100% renewable energy. What it doesn't mean is that if we were under the program, that the light bulbs at any one given minute would be coming from solar or wind. The only way you can do that is if you hook up directly. If you put solar panels on your house, you can say that you're being powered by solar. So in a current program, the fossil fuel generators put into the system, and then a community like us would buy electricity for 31,000 residents. In this program, the wind power, they also feed into the system, and what we do is for every megawatt we use, we get a certificate. It's a way that they create a currency out of renewable energies, and so we purchase certificates. And so what that's doing is we are taking Gurnee's entire buying power out of the coal business and putting it into renewable energies. So in reality, your house isn't being powered by it, but you're still, all Gurnee purchased electric for small accounts and residential is for renewable. So I'll keep explaining a little bit more. I know it's a nuanced concept, but essentially what it means and why it's an impact. For the CO2 and the carbon reduction equivalent for 1 year of Gurnee, what this will do is this would be the equivalent of taking off 171 million miles driven by passenger vehicles or 76 million pounds of coal. So it's not just a small environmental impact, it's a major environmental impact by switching to a renewable source. And then we'd be supporting that and leaving a smaller carbon footprint as a village. So the EPA, essentially, they recognize communities that they call their Green Power Partner Program. They look at how much energy municipalities buy, and then they rank them by who are the most green. NIMEC has a bunch of communities that they've been getting switched onto this program. Some of them have just recently done renewals, and we're all opting in. Of the top 10% by usage from the EPA, they listed on their website, they're all the NIMEC clients, and Gurnee will be in here somewhere too. The difference of why this isn't 100% is because it doesn't include commercial, because commercial can do their own, and it also doesn't include people who would opt out. So we would be somewhere we'd probably be a little bit lower. We'd probably be more similar to Tinley Park, just being much more of a commercial-based community where the bedroom communities would have a higher percentage. But we'll still be in the top 10 nationally of green energy communities. And this is just a side note, this isn't why we're doing it, but they do send you a sign saying that you're, a green power partner community. So this is just, I guess, to show too that an agency does dedicate you as a green power community. So the next steps after this, so if we do approve this contract, we hit the ground running. So we have a opt-out window. It's coming up pretty quick, so we'll work with NIMEC to get the mailers out. Again, it'll look exactly like it does in years past. We can do some PR about it being the renewable program, but according to residents, it'll be the same story as it is every year. It's just a new contract, and this year we have no fear of ComEd beating us in price. So it'll be price competitive and also good for the environment. We see it as a win, and that's why I think NIMEC has been able to move so many of their municipal clients onto this contract, because it's a win for everybody. Questions?
I'm sure there's a lot of them. I will remind the board that not this current strategic plan, but the one before, it was an important priority for us to go green, and so staff has continued, even though we're into a new five-year strategic plan, to look for opportunities to be more green. So this does fit with that. I know it is important to keep trying. And it doesn't seem like you can lose on this because you always get the best electrical rate, which is a bottom line for some of our residents. So questions?
My only concern is that it be seamless.
Trustee Garner, just so the recording picks up who
I'm
it is.
sorry.
That's fine.
My only concern is that it be a seamless switch.
Yeah, and the nice thing is I would be probably a little bit more concerned if it was a new vendor, but we've been with MC Squared for a couple renewals now, and they're phenomenal. That's part of this too, is when you get these bids in, you're not certain who's going to be the low bidder. MC Squared, they have Chicago offices, a dedicated number to Gurnee, and so their customer service is, compared to some of the major companies, is phenomenal in that regard. So I do think that'll be beneficial. But we'll just have to communicate it. There'll be some challenges for sure, and it's a tight window. So,
Questions? Trustee O'Brien?
Just one question and then one comment. Question number 10, nationally or in Illinois?
nationally.
Wow.
So it was originally before NIMAC and this program came into the ballpark. It was all California communities essentially. They have a lot of push towards it, lots of green environmental communities. Illinois has the rare power in our essentially our constitution that allowed for electric aggregation. So most states don't allow communities to go out and do it. So they're basically ranking communities that have done it through other ways, opt-in programs, stuff like that. But we're one of the few states that allows us to do an opt-out program to basically make it not, you know, that people can get out of it, but most people are in it. So that's why these Illinois communities are in the top 6 in the country.
Neat. Well, I for one am excited. No additional cost to the village and the residents, and we're able to offer electric service produced with 100% renewable energy, farmed right here in the Midwest from wind. So that's cool.
It is. Very creative. You know, it fits with our goals and objectives that we've had. So, so we're supposed to vote on this tonight. I mean, you actually need us. Oh, we have an ordinance. Okay.
Yeah, the pricing's only good for 24 hours, so we need to lock it in. And prior renewals, the bids haven't taken place on a village board meeting day, so you've authorized me to execute the agreement and bring it back to you. This happened to line up where we can remove one step where I authorize it and then bring it to you. So this is straight to you guys
You don't
tonight.
have to sweat it.
Nope, straight to you tonight.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Garner. Roll call, please, Andy.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood. Yes. Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
6 aye.
All right. Motion carries.